Tonight on What's Your Story, the incomparable Dr. Manoj Shah, we continue with the invigorating conversation around his autobiography, One in a Million.
Good evening and welcome to tonight's edition of What's Your Story. My name is Catherine Mwangi. Tonight is a part 2 of a story that started last week of the legendary Dr. Manoj Shah. We know him as a nation builder and a servant leader, recognized and celebrated all over the world. His work has been phenomenal, especially with the needy. And if you missed last week's episode, just here's a few snippets for you to catch up on.
In my 4th year in business, I still very, very vividly remember tears that I had in my eyes and the 2 nights that I cried continuously when whatever little money that I had, I invested into stock for my business and I put it in a warehouse. And on one Saturday night, that warehouse caught fire. I didn't have insurance. And all of a sudden, the vision, the dreams that I had were all gone up in smoke.
Okay, and as last week, now we are calling ourselves the G7. Okay, G7. So this group of people already, we have bonded over this story. We have bonded over listening and gleaning from Dr. Manoj Shah. And I would like to first of all welcome all of you to What's Your Story tonight. Thank you so much for being here. And of course to Dr. Shah for making time for us. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Catherine, for having me here.
So let's get to know yourselves again. G7, starting from you, Timothy.
My name is Timothy Carrier, personal finance and investment coach and also a financial market analyst.
Harriet Chebet Ngok. I am the CEO founder of Harriet's Botanicals, and that's a company that retails traditional indigenous medicine for the African and diaspora market.
Yes, my name is Eunice Sigay. I am a communication specialist and I'm really happy to be here. Yes, thank you.
My name is Mo Brian. I'm a husband and a father, and besides that, I work with Centum as the business development coordinator for the Terrific Special Economic Zone. And besides that, of course, I've led the development of the jury program that is focused on youth employment, and my background is in cybersecurity.
My name is Jane Gatti. I am a brand storyteller, so my experience or rather expertise is in brand storytelling, marketing and business development.
Okay, so what storytelling do you have about this G7 brand that we have established?
Lord, I mean by now I know how far they go 10 years, 5 years, as in I've learned a lot about them and what it is they think about doing in the next few days, the next couple of weeks.
Okay.
The businesses they run, what inspires them.
Wow.
And those are stories that we tell from a personal perspective and corporate perspective.
Yes.
Yeah.
Wow, impressive.
Definitely.
Impressive. Karibuni sana. Dr. Shah, I'll just set us off with a quote, seeing as G7 is now, we are quote people. And this book has so many quotes. By the way, this book is available where books are sold and also on Amazon. So there's a quote here that says, "We become the master of what we master. To thrive, you have to work on the business first before it works for you." So start us off with that quote.
Thank you very much, Catherine. Basically, the quote is a very powerful quote because a lot of new entrepreneurs forget that it's not the business that will work for them. It is you to work for the business to work for you. It's the other way around. And if somebody can understand just this simple sentence that make the business work first for the business to work for you, I can only assure you they will succeed. What this quote means is that when you have a new startup, when you start a new business, when you enter into a new venture, it is for you to make that venture successful, sustainable, and grow it. It is only after a period of time, and when we talk about time, I would say a minimum of 5 years to 10 years, that now you can sit back, relax, and say that the business is working for you. For me, it took me 15 years for the business to work for me, but I had to slog for the first 15 years to make sure that I put in whatever I have, 7 days a week, 10 hours a day, to get that business going.
And so, because you were a family man also at that time, so you were married, you had small babies, and there's this business that also the extended family is looking up to you to succeed. How do you, standing there at the center as an anchor, how do you, just make sure all of those balls are up in the air and none is dropping?
So that's an ardent task, to have all the balls up in the air and to make sure that they are flying, they're keeping on there without busting. It's really a hideous task. Yeah. It takes a lot of patience, initiation, and really a lot of hard work to keep them up there. When I say that, it really means that you have to find a lot of balances between the various balloons that are up there, because each one of them depict a separate family member. And when you look at family members, all 5 fingers are not the same. In your families, my families, it's the same situation. You will not find everybody aligned, and how do you get them all aligned and on the same page?
Yes. And speaking of families, Harriet, I know you have a question on that.
Because I was very intrigued by the fact that this is a family business. At the same time, it has grown in leaps and bounds, and it has scaled. So now you're dealing with a family business that has a corporate element to it. So under your corporate governance, number one, who wrote the family constitution? How did you implement it? And then how did you then sync it into corporate culture?
Right. To come up with the family constitution was not an easy task. To get consensus from all the family members, to get their input, it was not easy. It took us 4 years to put the family constitution and also the business constitution in place together with the shareholders' agreement. What we did is we initiated a consultant who worked with the family to create the rules that govern our family. And we started off with the simple governance structure of how a family should work and operate within the extended family. So that was the first part of the family constitution, where the family constitution, it's an extensive document that takes care of the extended family as long as that family member, he or she, stays within the family framework. It has do's, it has don'ts. It also has rules that govern us, that if somebody from the next generation wants to get married, what is it that they need to do and what is the expense that is allowable for that wedding. As you know, weddings can be as lavish from $10,000 to $1 million. I'm just giving you a simple example. Coming from an Indian background, we also have an issue because a lot of our traditional forefathers and the elder side of the family is all vegetarian. And of course, God-fearing people. Religion comes into play. And when we look at the next gen, yes, religion plays only a small part within them. And of course, the non-veg culture kicks in. So how does the family constitution take care of that, having a balance between the old and the new? And it clearly defines what you can do within the framework of your joint household and what you can do outside. Right? It also depicts that if a family member is not in the business or is not following the rules or becomes a rebel, what are the consequences? So it is a framework for the family. The second framework is for board governance, and it's a simple format whereby all the family board directors have all signed to a framework which we came together with a consultant. We had lots of meetings, lots of deliberations, and we all agreed that this will be the framework and the family board governance structure that will guide how our family business will continue and grow. What is it that we need to do and we don't need to do? What are the remuneration structures? Because at the end of the day, a lot of fights are around wealth creation and remuneration of various family members. And that board constitution also says that if the next generation wants to come into the family business, it's not that they come on a golden plate. It doesn't happen that way. They have to start from the bottom. They have to do something called a family MBA. And a family MBA is a structured program where the next generation, if it's my daughter or my brother's daughter or my daughter's son who wants to come into the family business whenever they turn 23, 24 from school, how do they come? They start right at the bottom. They have a rotation system of all our group companies, and once they've done that, we look at the skill sets, and then that is what determines ultimately where that family member will be fitted into the business. So that is the second piece that governs our family, so that it's absolutely crystal clear, no quarrels, no issues at all. And then the third is the shareholders agreement, which clearly defines that we have all this group of companies that we run. We are 9 family board members, and what is it that each family unit, depending on the number of years that they've put into the organization. It also caters for the next gen. It also caters for passing on my shares or whatever I have created to the next of my kin in that family business structure. So once you have all this framework in place, any extended family or a family living together can successfully carry on with that business, and not only carry on, I promise you, you'll grow by leaps and bounds by just having a structured way of doing things.
I think at that point you can close the show, because the gems that have been dropped here are mind-blowing. No, yes, Brian?
How do you see together as a family, knowing person X earns X amount, this other person? I think, you know, that corporate feeling that already someone is my senior, someone is, you know, earning more than I do. How do you put that balance to make sure that the family is not defined by how much they earn, but when they come together as a family, it's a family, you know?
That's a very good question. And now that is done by the board governance, where it's very, very clear that the wealth that is created by the family members is the wealth of the family. And then, to answer your question, the salary remuneration does not come into play at all, because at the end of the year, there is something called dividends that the company pays out to compensate family members, and especially those who might be getting less than others. So there is an inbuilt mechanism that actually takes care of that, and everybody is happy.
Okay, so coming to you, Harriet, I know we'll come to the rest, but I'm just basing this on the difference between African and Indian run businesses. Yes.
Yes, I mean, it's something that is really of concern, because you find that when families that are happy and contented usually don't have a lot of financial resources. But when the family gets resources, even if one person gets a very good job, the family starts to fracture, or when the business starts to do well, the family starts to fracture, and you find whether it's the cousins or the uncles or the brothers or the sisters, they no longer get along. So most of the African families not most, but a good number, go from, let's say, normal, contented African family. Money comes, big money, the family is fractured. And this causes a stigma. You find that some people are unwilling to embrace success because they're afraid of losing their family and the extended community. So I'm very interested in this subject, because I think it's something that we all really want to learn, how we can build finance, build money, build successful businesses without destroying the community.
So just to respond, you are absolutely 100% right. And it's not only within the African community, but it's with many other families, even Indian families, European families, and families that are not structured. Wherever there's money, we all know there's always going to be a problem, a quarrel, and people are going to have difference of opinions. But what is the most important to learn here is that when you have a family-run business, it's very important to put in a structure in place. Many families are not as big as ours. Even if your family is made up of you, your husband, and your 2 children, if I were to recommend anybody, because I speak at many family business forums, I always encourage them to put a framework in place. Because this framework, 5 years down the line, 10 years down the line, 20 years down the line, is going to help you save the business, keep it intact, and make sure it's growing without any family issues.
I love that. So there's a sentence here. Life isn't about the final destination or the accomplishments and accolades. It's about the journey and opportunities for learning and how we grow as a result. So by the time you're writing this, I want to speak to your accomplishments and accolades. And the ones that stand out to me, I mean, you've had so many, so many of them. The ones that stand out to me first is the one by Her Majesty the Queen, the late Queen Elizabeth. and of course our former presidents. Could you speak to, first of all, that one for Queen Elizabeth and how it came about?
So Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth, in fact, before she passed away, I was one of the last recipients of her award or recognition, that she recognized me and elevated me to the Commander of St. John's. I've been working with St. John's for almost over 12 years, and I've really contributed to restructuring of the St. John's ambulance, providing new services, putting up the rescue centers that you see on accident spots along all the major highways to Busia and Mombasa. And whenever a road accident happens, it's the St. John's volunteers who are always there on site. At the same time, we have initiated very many first aid programs. And what we have realized is that whenever an accident happens on the road to Thika, to Nakuru, or to Nevasha, in a matatu or in a car, the first responder, who is the first responder? The first responder is the driver and the tout of that matatu. The second responder is that boda boda rider. Because of the thousands of boda bodas that are there now, those are the first people on the scenes. And the difference between life and death lies in the hand of these three people. Whether you're going to live after that accident or die. Because when you have an accident, it's an accident, and you have to give that first aid emergency treatment right there and then, whilst waiting for the paramedics and the ambulance to come. So we have come up with a program where we train, first aid training to the boda boda, to the touts, and also to the drivers to make our roads safer. Together with that, we also have initiated a program in schools, and our target is to train 500,000 children around in all the counties, and teach them in basic first aids, because these children must know at home when they go. Some people get boiled water on their skin, some get cut by a knife, some get a fall. How do we manage first aid? So because of all these initiatives, Her Majesty the Queen recognized me and elevated me to the Commander of St. John's for my efforts in ensuring a safer nation.
Okay, so we need to take a break. What's your story? We'll be back after this.
Over the years, I've learned two things. In friendship, they are friends, and they are friends forever. And you must be able to distinguish who are your friends and who are your friends forever.
Welcome back. This is What's Your Story on KTN Home. Gratified that you made the time tonight to watch. What goes into being recognized at those levels? I mean, you're EBS, you are Head of State Commendation, that's HSC, and now the Order of St. John's by the Queen. What goes into just getting to that level where you get an email from Buckingham Palace saying, come over and we have whatever for you?
I mean, for many people, awards, accolades is a great motivator, and a lot of people look forward to it. But for me personally, really, I do not look for awards or accolades or recognition. They've just come by chance. When people see good things happening, they feel that they want to recognize you at international level, at our country level, and that happens naturally. For me, what is most important is the joy and the satisfaction that I get in doing what I can for our country, for our nation, for our brothers and sisters. Awards, recognition does not mean a lot to me. But at the same time, I also feel grateful that I'm appreciated for the good work that I do for this country.
You are impact-oriented, or rather driven. And actually, referencing from your book, I came about a quote that says, leadership is about your presence impacting, or rather changing the lives of those who are around you, and even your legacy being felt even after your absence. So what I want to ask you is about a mindset thing. I'm a firm believer of you cannot be thinking about failure and enjoy success. Also, not be, you cannot be thinking about having 1,000 ways of, why your business can fail and expect to have a breakthrough. So I wanted to understand what sort of materials do you feed on, just to make sure that you have that articulate, sharp mindset, and, you retain that optimism in everything that you do, and also how do you traverse that knowledge across the, different businesses that you run. Automobile is way far from healthcare, which is also way far from finance. So how do you strike that balance, and retaining the mindset that I can wake up you tomorrow, ask you a question about, or rather your board members come to you and ask you something about automobile, you're able to answer. Still, I'll find you at Shah. You're reasoning out with doctors. How do you build, how does your library look like?
So I look at it in two parts. One is the first part of the question, how do I keep mental wellness, and how do I kind of keep my mind at bay, handling and multitasking with various roles, handling various businesses, handling various social organizations. And you asked me a question, what do I eat? Every day I take vitamin H. And vitamin H is happiness. And that keeps my mind active and happy. And over the years, I have learned that no matter what, sometimes and many times, things don't go your way. Not everything works as you have planned. Not everybody follows what you have told them to do. And every day is not a bright, sunny day. But it really doesn't matter over time, as long as you say that at least you put in an effort, you tried, and you forget and move on. The biggest mistake people make that makes them frustrated is that they don't forget what has hurt them the day before, the week before, the month before, and that eats up what is going to happen in the future. So my advice to everybody is that yes, many a time things will work out for you, but many a time things will not work the way you want. And every day is not going to be a happy day. But if you want to move on, you need to forget what happened and move on with the next task. And believe me, by building blocks of success, you'll be the most happiest person. Coming back to your second question, over the years, I've mastered one thing that has led to my success, and that one thing is time management, which has allowed me to multitask in various portfolios. Earlier on, in the previous edition, you heard me saying that what is it that I do when I remove my tie at night, and that 1 hour, it is that 1 hour that gives me the wisdom and the knowledge of what is happening in various sectors in Kenya and around the world. I get a 360 perspective of watching KTN news, because I not only get the news, but I'm also very interested in the business news, because that is something that I hear very keenly as to what's happening in the markets in Kenya. And of course, there is the sports element. And when I look at the sports element, I look at it from a very positive manner, that how does it transform lives and keeps people happy. So in that way, I keep myself updated, and I can actually have intellectual conversations on almost all subject matters. In fact, my favorite subject for the last 3 days is, of course, whether Israel has bombed Iraq or it hasn't bombed Iraq.
Nathaniel.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Being the only Gen Z here, and also being a leader, I understand the role that ambition plays in leadership or even growth. And you just give us the whole journey and the business ventures you went into. I'm just curious to know, at this point of your life, are you ambitious enough? Because I know you're in line for the international seat as the international president for Lions. So is there any other ambition you have? Are we looking at Governor, Dr. Manoj very soon? Are you hoping to run for a political seat? Or what's the next step for you? What's your ambition?
The only ambition I have at this point in time is to become the world president of Lions International. And the reason why I have that ambition is because I know I can make a difference, I can change the world and give my leadership to that. However, when we talk about ambition and when we talk about my vision I have vision for many, many things that I really want to do. But those are not ambitions that I want to achieve. So my only ambition in life at this point in time is to become the world president. I would never run for a political seat in this country or anywhere else. Unfortunately, I'm made out of a cut of cloth that is non-political.
You mentioned about, the process of creating friends. Be slow in determining who will be your friends. And after creating these friends, remain committed and consistent to this friendship so as to create a lasting, valuable relationships or other friendships. For my generation, which are the millennials, you'll find, especially you're working with someone, for example, it's in a corporate, you've met someone, you've chatted, you've exchanged contacts, you've met for the first maybe meeting or two, you consider them to be your friends. And even at times you find yourself oversharing, thinking they are your friends. But you'll find 10 of the people you thought are your friend last year, actually, rarely this year you chat to them or you talk to them or you check up. How do you determine, how do you capture this is a long-term friendship, this is a transactional friendship, this is just business, and this is family?
This is a very, very important question, and this is a lesson of life that I've learned over the last 46 years. Because having gone through a journey of what I've gone through for family, for business, and in my philanthropic career, I've come across hundreds of people. And there are many people who really want to be friends of mine. And even as I sit here today, after the show, I'll still have another 1,000 people who want to be a friend of mine. But over the years, I've learned two things. In friendship, they are friends and they are friends forever. And you must be able to distinguish who are your friends and who are your friends forever. And this is really something very easy to do, but yet if you don't know, it is also very difficult, because a lot of people get carried away by smooth talking, by going out, having a drink, having dinner together, spending a weekend out somewhere, and you think you have the best friends of the world until you get stabbed, and then you know, I thought I made a mistake by having him or her as my friend. So I've learned this over a period of time, and basically I have a lot of friends forever. And those friends forever, I have made an effort to keep them friends forever. Right? I mean, those are the friends that I see are adding value to my family, are adding value to my business, are adding value to times when I need them, are adding value in my social life. So these are my friends that I've kept forever. And then I have other friends who don't tick the box, who are not there. They are only there because of one thing or the other that they may need from me. And let me also share a story of many politicians in the past and even now. Because a lot of people know that I do social work, they always come to my office, they always want to see me. And they come with a big smile as if they know me for years. And they become a great friend of mine, and they even invite me for a game of golf. But the next question that comes up is that they say that I have this project there and I want you to come and help my people there, or I have this thing at home that I need your help. And of course I look at them and I say, definitely sir, I am there at your service to help you. I never say no. I say, you're my good friend, isn't it? But why don't we do one thing? Instead of asking like this, why don't we ask like this? You give me one hand, I give you one hand. Let's put both our hands together and help your people in your community or help that project. 90% of them never come back. That is friendship.
So that's how you differentiate the sycophants from the real ones. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes, in addition to what Brian was saying, because now you have Gen Zs and millennials who are spending so much time on social media. And sometimes you're on Facebook and you think this whole group of people who like your posts are your friends. And actually the world is becoming very lonely for us with more technology. So how do you maintain real bonds, real relationships now in this current world that is full of technology, full of likes, full of this, full of TikTok, full of people dancing everywhere? How do you then create proper bonds and maintain them?
You're absolutely right. the world that we are living in now is more artificial than it ever was before. And that is leading to a lot of people not bonding together. Even when I look at families, even families are falling apart because the way they communicate in one household is now by WhatsApp or by social media. That's how the father knows where the wife has gone, and that's where the daughter knows where the mother has gone. But coming back to friends, what I have been able to do over the years, of course, I've not been overtaken by technology. I still use my traditional methods to keep my friendships alive. And one of the things that I've done is also still maintain some of the traditions. Just to give you an example, a Christmas greeting. We have forgotten the value of a Christmas greeting. And our Christmas greeting nowadays is on WhatsApp or social media. Catherine, wishing you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. That's the end of it. But for me, that's not a Christmas greeting. Especially for my friends for life, I want to first, number one, send them a postcard, a card, physical card with my greeting and my signature. Secondly, I want to call them and wish them. And thirdly, ask them, how is it going for them during this Christmas period? Right? I mean, this is one of the ways where you maintain your relationship. Each and every one of us have birthdays. I remember my birthdays since I was a young boy. Even in my life as far as 10 years ago, I only used to receive 10 or 15 birthday messages in those days. I used to treasure them. I used to love them. I used to like them. Today, I receive 1,274 messages on my birthday. And for me, it was all a delete, because really, if you can't call me and wish me, the least that you can do, I mean, for me, that birthday greeting means nothing. I'm so old, I don't need to have any more blessings than that.
So let's talk about values, because that's what I'm hearing. The values that form the man that you are. So we are used to, in fact, those Christmas greetings, you just send one that someone forwarded you, so you forward to the next one, then until the next better one comes along, you forward. So when I hear you say you'll call, you find out, do you have everything you need? Are you okay? Wow. So what are the values that define Manoj Shah?
So, I mean, this depicts truly of who I am and how I care for my close friends and family members. And that not only in Kenya, but even across the borders. And to be very honest, they also reciprocate the same way, because they know one thing, that people like to be treated the way you treat them. It's a very simple thing. If you treat your friends well, they will reciprocate by treating you in the same manner.
Okay. Timothy?
I think something that is coming out clear is that even from the quote that Catherine began with about mastering yourself, that was very much evident even in the book, and I can resonate even in when it comes to the investment industry, because one of the things that is very significant, and what even I myself tell those that I mentor, those that I teach, is that you have to put your mind away from the money, because the moment you put money first, so if you come along the obstacle, maybe an obstacle, that means is the end of you. But if you try to work and become the best version of you, or you try to master whatever you are doing, then money definitely will follow you, right? And you find that now most of, especially now the Gen Z, the Gen Z here, you see, they don't want to resonate with that aspect. Okay, they don't want to resonate with that aspect. For them, they want instant results. Okay, instant results. So, what, especially for you during those back in your times, those when we had no technology, when everything was done manual, what really kept you on track in terms of maybe trying to become the better version of yourself? I heard you mention that you used to sacrifice even your time to take online classes or evening classes, right? Apart from that, what could you say that maybe made you the best version of yourself?
So the best version of myself in financial terms, and of course going through difficult period during the initial stages of my business, and then of course growing the business from there on. And one of the critical aspects to me that is so important and very valuable for every business, and especially for new businesses, is your cash flow. Because it is your cash flow that actually runs your present business, and that also gives you an indication how fast you want to move on to the next stage. Because the biggest mistake that a lot of people make is the moment they see a lot of money in the bank without a projection or without a cash flow, they think that this is now available for investment into the next thing or to do something else with that money, but they've forgotten that there are still a lot of things that are remaining in your cash flow to be paid for, to be budgeted for, to be bought, to be enhanced, new product lines to be introduced, new markets to be put in, new branches to be opened. You know, they forget all that variable factors, and that is disastrous to the business itself. Looking at investments today, especially the Generation Z, and even generally, a lot of people think that let's go into the stock market, let's invest there, let's buy bitcoins, let's buy all these other financial instruments that are available, and they look at it from a short perspective, and they have no patience to sit on them. And that is what leads to a lot of them making huge losses. They don't understand that the stock market, the Bitcoin market, is so volatile that you can find it going up, you can find it going down, you can find it going up, and it's really the curves that you have to keep on watching. But at the same time, if you have invested your money, you have to be patient. And when I talk about patient, your money only grows like a tree. You can't plant a seed and expect a long 10-meter tree to grow in 1 month. It takes 5 years, 10 years for that money to multiply in leaps and bounds. So if you have that patience, you can certainly succeed with financial planning.
Wow. Okay. Practical examples. As we wind up, Dr. Shah, there's a sentence here that says, "Go after the fairy tale. It does exist." Are you living in your fairy tale?
For sure. 101%.
Wow. We all hope to be able to say that in how many years, G7s? 15. 15 years. 15 years, we want to be able to say 101% we are living in our fairy tale. But that has, I mean, that's phenomenal. So the fairy tales exist.
Yes, they do.
So we dream, we keep dreaming.
Yes, keep on dreaming, and dream with your eyes open, your dreams will come true.
Okay, we are saying goodbye. So I'll start with Jane. These sessions we have had, both on camera and off camera, with Dr. Manoj Shah. What's the one thing? Keep it very short. One thing you have gleaned that you will apply, in your life. Let him know.
If be the change you want to see was a person, that would be Dr. Manoj Shah. And I'm very inspired by you taking up change initiatives instead of waiting for other people to come in and make those changes in both your business world and the philanthropy world. And that has really inspired me to do better and take up change initiatives in the little spaces and big spaces that I take part in.
That's powerful. Thank you. Brian?
One defining bit you've spoken and opened my eyes on is on family. And you know, the potential that lies by leveraging the talent that you have as a virtue of blessing, because you know, family is a blessing. And how best you can leverage on it and build on it to have a generation that is impactful and will have a defined legacy. Thank you.
Miss Eunice?
It's amazing how Dr. Manoj inspires us to grow and become better people in the society. So we do not need to stop where we are. We need to look up to people like him to grow, and also just know that the sky is the limit, that we do not need to stop, but we can always achieve what we set our hearts and minds to do.
Thank you, Eunice.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. Okay, Nathaniel?
Great. So I do understand that life boils down to relationships. I think my first takeaway is that, you know, making friends is slow, but keeping them, I have to make an intentional effort. because I've seen your relationships with people across the world, and I think that's something I truly admire. You know everyone in every field, and I think that's intentional effort, whether it's a phone call instead of a WhatsApp forward message, being intentional with your decisions and actions. I think that's something to be valued and, to look forward to being.
That's good. Chabet.
I mean, for me, what has really been an amazing and incredible conversation is sort of like a reaffirming of some truths that I thought I knew, but I now know them in practice. The fact that you speak about the family constitution and their shareholder agreement and the board agreement and sort of how you manage family business. I am also so encouraged by the work that you do in the community. The story about the women in Kibera was just like, wow. I'm so impressed, and I've learned a lot today about eyes and that there are children out there who, could go for this operation. So it's really been such an inspirational time just listening to you and learning from you. It's one thing to read it in the book. It's another thing to actually have that first-hand experience of hearing it from you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Harriet.
Timothy?
Yeah, for me, one of the takeaways and the greatest takeaways that it's not about the success we can see, but it's all about how we handle our way to that success. Basically, is getting out of the comfort zone, and like you quoted in the book, it gets harder before it gets easier. So let's keep pushing. That's the message that is very inspirational for me.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Wow. I mean, for me, yeah, sure. I also have learned a lot. Like you said, it's one thing to read it, it's another thing to experience him. And when you put everything you have said together, just experiencing the humility, we are here so we can attest to that. So that the humility, the spirit behind the man. So we see this man who he's celebrated, you see him next to presidents, you see all the work he does, you see when he goes, into these international spaces, how people just almost bow down to him. And then he's here, just pouring and pouring and pouring despite all the hitches we've had today. And you haven't seen one iota of negativity or attitude emanating from him. So that for me, because like you said, track record, great reputation. And I have to add in the middle, great attitude as well. So the higher we go, then we still maintain just who we are. That for me is the greatest lesson from you.
Thank you.
And I'm so grateful you made time again for us.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you, Catherine.
One last word to our people.
So thank you, Catherine, for inviting me to this show, and thank you to all the panelists, the famous G7. I mean, this has been a memorable experience for me. It's not only I have shared what I wanted to share during my life journey with you, but I've also learned from you having this interaction. So it's a two-way traffic. And what I would like to leave with the last note is that life is a journey full of learning till you stop. Never stop learning, because learning is what keeps you going. Learning is what takes you to where your destination is. So that is my message that I would like to part with all of you. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone. And I have nothing more to add. Let me not dilute it with a lot. You goodbye. Thank you.